All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about changes in demand. We're going to go ahead and answer these questions on a separate piece of paper as we read section 3.2 from page 56 to page 62. So the first question asks, what factor causes a change in quantity demanded? And that factor, ladies and gentlemen, is price. Price changes quantity demanded. And then for number two, that change in price will cause movement along the demand curve. Okay, so when there is a change in price, that changes quantity demanded, and that moves you along the demand curve. Now, for number three, it asks what is the name of the factors that cause an increase or decrease in demand. If you look on page 56, you'll see in bold, it says the determinants of demand. And the determinants of demand are those factors. Okay, the determinants of demand are the factors that cause an increase or decrease in demand. We're going to go into further detail about those in a little bit. Before we get into that, I want to go ahead and look at the demand graphs being shifted. So let's look on page 57. You can see in figure 3.3, it shows an increase and a decrease in demand. So let's go ahead and look at figure 3.3 there. Let's look at the graph to the left, which is an increase in demand. So there you can see the demand curve, which of course is downward sloping, shifts to the right from D1 to D2. An increase in demand is going to shift the demand curve to the right. In economics, that is basically saying that you're increasing demand. Okay, increase is almost always to the right, decrease is almost always to the left. So if you look where it says decrease in demand, right next to where it says increase in demand, you can see that there is a decrease in demand from D1 to D3 because the demand curve is shifting to the left. Okay, so a decrease in demand is going to cause the demand curve to shift to the left. So just remember that an increase is going to be to the right and a decrease is going to be to the left. It's, like I said, that's pretty much an ironclad rule in economics. Now, we're going to go ahead and describe the 5 determinants of demand and how they can increase or decrease demand. You can look at those on page 57. The first one is consumer tastes and preferences, which is basically how popular something is, whether people like it, whether people enjoy it. So, think if Beatles CDs become more popular, that means that demand for those Beatles CDs is going to go up, and the demand curve is going to shift to the right. Okay, that would be an example of tastes and preferences. Market size is another example. A bigger market is going to increase demand, a smaller market is going to decrease it. All right. So if you have, let's say, we're looking at the demand for iPods, all right, and there are more people in the United States, the market is bigger, that's going to increase the demand for iPods, and it's going to shift the demand curve to the right. Okay, if you turn the page and go to page 59 and go to income, okay, income is another determinant of demand. Less income is going to lessen demand. More income is going to increase demand. So if you have people overall are poorer, that means they have less income, and that is going to decrease demand. Decreased demand is going to shift that demand curve to the left. Now, if you turn the page again, you can see in red where it says prices of related goods, and that is another determinant of demand there. Now, the related goods come in two types. You have substitute goods and you have complementary goods. Substitute goods, ladies and gentlemen, are goods that can be substituted for each other, like, for example, butter and margarine. So, you might have the scenario, let's say butter becomes more expensive. What happens to the demand for margarine? And the answer is the demand for margarine is going to go up, and the demand curve for margarine is going to shift to the right. And the reason is, if butter becomes more expensive, people are going to switch over to margarine because it's cheaper, so the demand is going to go up, and the demand curve is going to shift to the right. Now, this is a little different when you turn the page and go to page 62. For complementary goods. Complementary goods are goods that go together, like paint and paint brushes. So let's say the price goes up for paint. Okay, if the price goes up for paint, the demand for paint brushes is going to fall. And the reason for that is people aren't going to buy as much paint. If you're not going to buy as much paint, you're not going to buy as much paint brushes. And then, therefore, the demand for paint brushes is going to fall. And then finally, your last determinant of demand is you have consumer expectations. So if you think you're going to have less money in the future, that's going to decrease demand. If you think you're going to have more money in the future, that's going to increase demand right now. Okay? So you're going to go ahead and bring these reading questions into me tomorrow completed, and we will go ahead and go from there. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.